Hello dear viewer and welcome to yet another interesting episode of Jack's Top 10. In today's video, we'll look at the 10 mythical creatures that may have existed in the world. Whenever you hear the word of Dracula, you're bound to be scared. Throughout ancient history, incredible and mythical creatures were passed down from generation to generation. Is there anything more frightening and amusing than dragons, yetis, krakens, and mermaids, creatures that appear in so many movies around the world? But do we acknowledge their existence? Number 10. Yeti. You may remember the giant white beast you see in many movies. If you have a good memory, that is a Yeti. A Yeti is typically imagined as a giant ape-like creature with saber-like teeth and shaggy hair. The Tibetan Yeti is similar to the mythical Bigfoot from the United States, but it is also a creature of ancient South Asian legends and folklore, traditionally believed to inhabit the Himalayan peaks. True believers in the existence of Yetis tend to use remote locations to demonstrate how elusive and rare Yetis are. Several ancient legends describe mystic Yeti sightings and the footprints of the Yeti, and stories of people spotting the Yeti were widespread throughout Bhutan, India, and Nepal. However, it was the forensic evidence and fossils excavated in China, India, and Vietnam that provided the strongest evidence of Yeti existence. The American television presenter Joshua Gates and his team, Destination Truth, reported finding Yeti footprints in the Everest region of Nepal in December 2007. Also, scientists have now been able to create an animal that reads from that data. Number 9. Unicorns. There are fairy tales all over the world depicting white horses with pearls, white gems and long horns attached to the forehead. Unlike many mythical creatures, which appear to draw from humanity's deepest fears, unicorns are described as being magnificent and noble creatures, often represented as a symbol of purity and goodness. Legend has it that wild animals roam the forest and eat fruits, berries and nuts. But in the real world, unicorns live in open grasslands. It was more like a rhinoceros than a horse. These real-life unicorns are named Siberian unicorns because of the huge horns that grow on their foreheads. They are like the mythical creatures found in storybooks, but not so pretty. Ancient rhino species found to have lived concurrently with modern humans until around 36,000 years ago. This suggests that the earliest men did in fact see unicorns. Likely not the white, elegant ponies that we imagine. Number 8. Centaur. In mythology, centaurs were described as wild horses and were rumored to have inhabited the islands of Magnesia and Mount Pelion in Thessaly, the Folio Oak Forest in Elis, and the Melina Peninsula in southern Laconia. Centaurs later appeared in Roman mythology and in a medieval bestiary. Modern fantastic literature remains anchored by them. It is said that the mythical animal is trapped between two identities, one half a beast and another half an aristocrat. According to old Greek legends, one notable centaur was known as Chiron, the wise centaur. He was a respected intellect, a healer, and a cultured centaur. Chiron lived in the Thessaly region of northern Greece at the foot of Mount Pelion. According to legend, the Turks who rode horses to Greece were known as centaurs. Number 7. Sphinx. Sphinxes are among the most interesting of all mythical creatures. A sphinx is a mythological creature with the body of a lion and the head of a human. It was an important image in ancient Egypt and Greek legends. The Great Sphinx of Giza statue was made to serve as the guardian of the tomb of Pharaoh Khufu within the ancient pyramids, perhaps the most fascinating and mysterious part of human creation. Historically, the Sphinx of Giza was believed to be modeled after the fierce ancient Egyptian part woman, part lioness warrior goddess, referred to as Bastet. Interestingly, new evidence suggests that the authors of the Sphinx may have been inspired by an actual terrestrial feline species. The Great Egyptian Museum announced in 2019 that it would use technology to use DNA and CT scans of the body of a strange bird found near the Sphinx to determine if it was a real animal. Perhaps it was inspired by the massive limestone sculpture? Number 6. Dragons. The three big dragons found in the legendary television series Game of Thrones are not to be forgotten. But a fantasy that has become a staple of classic dragon mythology books and throne-style movies. No one actually believes that dragons exist. Dragon rumors have been circulating since ancient times. The stories of these giant fire-breathing reptiles date back at least 4,000 years, but if you ever want to find something resembling a dragon, you have to go far back in time to an era of giant reptiles. Dragons are believed to have wings, horns, 4 legs, and the ability to breathe fire in Western cultures since the Middle Ages. It's a bit hard to imagine that dragons could have been dinosaurs, but if you think of them as always being reptilian regardless of culture, it makes more sense. As the dots connect, they become more apparent. The Komodo dragon can be identified as a creature similar to the dragons in real life. The difference is that they cannot breathe fire, and these giant reptiles can be as dangerous as the mythical dragons depicted in Western culture. Number 5. Vampires. Once you hear the word vampire, you will be scared even if you are at home alone at night. But in reality, vampires are just imaginary creatures we've known since time immemorial. Vampires are known to be the best evil monsters that can become immature creatures of the night living by drinking human blood. During the 17th and 18th centuries, many stories of these terrifying mythological beings spread throughout southern and eastern Europe. In those days, victims of strange physical or emotional illness were prosecuted for their superstitious beliefs. While modern science today has largely suppressed the vampire superstitions of the medieval era, the fear of vampires still persists despite the suppression of those superstitions. In the world, there are communities of people who identify as vamps, and, although they may seem ordinary, they do practice unusual feeding rituals that include drinking blood from donors. Number 4. Loch Ness Monster. Lochans is said to have lived in the Scottish Highlands, but no one knows for sure whether he is real. In Scottish folklore, a legend of the Loch Monster is sometimes described as a long-necked marine reptile with massive muscles. On January 5, 1934, a motorcyclist named Arthur Grant saw the animal crossing the road at 1 a.m. on a moonlit night. According to Grant, it had a small head attached to its long neck. He also posted an outline of it on his account today, which helped to get an overview of the animal. The scientific community considers the Loch Ness Monster an illogical phenomenon, explaining sightings as hoaxes, wishful thinking, and misidentification of mundane objects. Pseudoscience and cryptozoology place a great deal of importance on the monster. Number 3. Hydra. According to Greek mythology, Hydra was a multi-headed serpentine creature that lived in the lakes of Lerma and Argol. The children of Typhon and Echidna, Hydra are said to be the children of Hesiod. Each time a Hydra head is cut off, 2 others grow back. The second of Hercules' 12 challenges was to kill the 9-headed Hydra. In order to kill the seemingly immortal beast, Hercules found a way to prevent the creature's heads from multiplying. In real life, the Hydra is a freshwater creature that is several inches long and has many heads. But it is not as dangerous as the monsters of Greek mythology. So you don't have to be afraid of Hail Hydra. Number 2. Merfolk. The concept of aquatic humanoids swimming in the seas may date back thousands of years. They are attested in folklore and mythology throughout the ages in various parts of the world. Female merfolk may be called mermaids, but in a strict fashion, mermaids are women who look like fish. Male merfolk are called mermen. The mermaids in the world-famous Pirates of the Caribbean series have beautiful bodies and voices and later become monsters. Their ugly or beautiful characteristics depend on the story. It is no mystery that the question as to whether or not the existence of merfolk has been the topic of much controversy for thousands of years, or at least since the discovery of the New World by Europeans. Mermaid sightings are dismissed by experts as bluffs, as there is no ground for concluding fish people exist, and that sailors who claim to have encountered the creatures must be mistaken. Christopher Columbus saw what was probably only a glimpse of marine mammal humans, called 𝐜𝐸𝐬𝐧𝐭 or sea cows, when he was an explorer and navigator. Number 1. The Kraken sea monster may be the biggest ever imagined by mankind, according to Nordic tall tales. A kraken has been the focus of many sailors in the North Atlantic, and particularly sailors who originate from the Nordic countries. Throughout history, the kraken has populated sailors' superstitions and mythologies. Giant aquatic creatures were reputed to have terrible tempers, wrecking large ships for sport, and dragging survivors under the sea with their giant tentacles. Among seamen, rumors swirled about a monstrous mythical sea monster looming giant and almost indestructible, of which some claimed to have seen in person. Several sightings and discoveries of the kraken, or its more massive cousin the colossal squid, have helped maintain but also perpetuate its legend. Some people believe through credible evidence in the true existence of krakens, but do you actually believe that, if there were a sea monster, it would only exist by eating fish? In addition, don't forget to comment on the fantasy creatures in the world you know, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.